Hey, what's up guys? Joker here, and I hope you're all doing well. Today we have got a couple of news stories in the world of PC gaming. First up, we're going to be talking about Marvel's Avengers video game, which is set to be coming out on September 4th, and a major character which is going to be left out of the game for PC and Xbox One players and given to Sony PlayStation 4 players as an exclusive character, and it is a major one. And also we're going to take a look at the system requirements for Project Cars 3 to see if your system can run it, and also discuss why you might not even care about whether your system can run it, because this game is getting a lot of backlash from the sim community. But first, today's video is brought to you by MMORC.com, where you could save money on games for all of your favorite platforms, as well as software like Windows 10 Pro, which you can get for just $15, as well as Office 2019 Pro and Office 365, and if you act right now, you can get an additional 27% off with my code JOK27 at checkout, and that'll knock the price down on Windows 10 Pro from $15.29 all the way down to $11.16. And of course, they accept a wide variety of payment from PayPal to credit cards to Bitcoin, so be sure to act now and hit up the links down in the description below. First up, let's talk about Marvel's Avengers, which I said again at the start of the video, it's going to be coming out on September 4th, so we're exactly a month away from this game coming out, and, you know, it might be good, it might be bad. I'm kind of excited to, see this game and see what it can do, and if it could hold up to, like, the Spider-Man game that came out exclusively on Sony a couple of years ago, which I enjoyed immensely. This game is being made by Crystal Dynamics, who we previously know working on the recent Lara Croft games anyway, the Tomb Raider games. So really the big topic of discussion here is that they are making Spider-Man exclusive to the Sony PlayStation 4, and he's not even going to be in the game at launch. He's actually going to be released in early 2021 as post-launch DLC, free DLC, which apparently is a promise that they made early on that they wouldn't be charging for this, but he's going to be exclusive to the Sony platform. So let's go ahead and take a look at the statement that was issued by Sony yesterday. It says, "The team at Crystal Dynamics, along with our partners, are overjoyed that we get to be a part of this hero's gaming journey. We can't wait for you to add Spider-Man to your Marvel's Avengers roster in early 2021, and as promised, he will be available at no additional cost to owners of the base game, and then at the end, exclusively on PlayStation." So PC gamers and Xbox One players are getting left out in the wind completely. Never mind the fact that we'll be paying $60 for this game right alongside Sony players. We get completely screwed on this and don't get to play as Spidey, which I think is a disappointment. I think he's one of, if not the, fan favorite of the Avengers and Marvel franchises. His, at least if you go by, things like the movie releases, the Spider-Man movies have always made an incredible amount of money, breaking box office records almost every time that they come out. Spider-Man, I think, is arguably the most popular Marvel character and one of the most popular Avengers as well. But let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree. And then, of course, everyone's got their favorites, but I think overall Spider-Man is probably the most popular. He's definitely my favorite Avenger character. Maybe Captain America and Iron Man kind of come in second, although I was never really an Iron Man fan until I saw Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal as him, because he was really good in that role. But Spider-Man has always been, a top-tier hero, and I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed about this, and I think a lot of people are probably not going to pick the game up because of this, even though it's DLC and he wasn't meant to be in the game at launch. Later on down the road with DLC, if there's going to be, I'm sure there'll be DLC missions, tied to Spider-Man and stuff like that, even though none of that's been confirmed yet. Why would they be releasing this character later on down the road if there wasn't going to be, mission-centric stuff tied directly to Spider-Man? And now only Sony console players will be able to play him on the PS4 and eventually the PS5 as well, which is pretty disappointing. At the end of the day, it does kind of make sense, because Sony, at least when it comes to the rights and the privileges, they do own the rights to Spider-Man. When it comes to the film franchising and all of that stuff, that's been a big issue over the past few years, and it was a big deal when he kind of did return to the Disney films and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Only to then a few years into that, Sony wanted to take him back, and then they reached another deal to keep him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the Disney films. So there's just this big back and forth push and pull between Disney and Sony, and obviously with Sony producing the PlayStation consoles, it kind of makes sense that they would want to keep them exclusive to their platform, but at the end of the day, it really ends up hurting the fans more than anyone else. And this is not the first time we've seen something like this before, especially with Sony. Just last year with Modern Warfare, there was a co-op mode, a portion of the co-op in Modern Warfare that was given exclusively to Sony. It was not available on the Xbox One or the PC, and still is not to this date. So it's just a shame that, we're seeing this kind of content exclusivity tied to a single platform. It hurts gamers at the end of the day, and it just doesn't really do a good service to the fans of Marvel and the franchises. So, it doesn't matter really what we say at this point. I don't think this is going to change. Sony's not going to change their mind. They're very protective of the rights of Marvel Spider-Man, and why wouldn't they? He's worth literally millions, possibly even into the billions of dollars for Sony, for the movies and, all the rights and stuff that they hold. So, unfortunately, if you wanted to pick up Avengers next month, you're not going to get to play as Spider-Man, even when he is eventually released as a playable character in early 2021. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What you think about that. Are you disappointed by it? Let me know. Let's discuss it down in the comments. Next up, I wanted to talk about Project Cars 3. We got the system requirements for this game. I was a big fan of the first and second version of Project Cars 1 and 2. I really like those games, but it appears with Project Cars 3, a lot of the hardcore sim fans that liked the original two games are, kind of like a lot of the trailers and stuff have tons of dislikes and stuff because it was revealed back in June that some of the key simulator features are actually stripped out of the new Project Cars game. Things like pit stops, tire wear, and fuel consumption, which, definitely plays a huge part in strategy when playing a simulator-style game. And with some of those key features removed, it really feels like Project Cars 3 is shifting into a completely different, noobified direction to make it more accessible to fans. And even though they could have easily put in, toggles and accessibility options in order for people that, don't want the simulator experience, which, Project Car 2 and stuff had that. You can go in there and, you could put on the racing lines and you can, brake assist and steering assist and all that stuff. I mean, you could do, and there was enough accessibility in that options where it almost felt like the game was driving the car for you. And if you're, not the person that wants to get into simulator racers, which personally I'm not a big into simulators, I enjoyed those accessibility features because there were certain things I could do to make it a little more accessible to myself. And they certainly could have gone that route again with Project Cars 3, but instead, they went full stupid here and instead are making this just a noobified experience to give it a broader range of acceptance with more of the casual, racing fans out there, which is disappointing, seeing that kind of stuff. So a lot of people are upset about this game. But we did get the official system requirements released yesterday, and it is going to require a beefy system. So I did want to go over these for people that are maybe interested in picking this game up, because they have some of the highest recommended requirements that I think I've seen on a game up until now. For the minimum requirements, they are fairly modest. They are saying for Intel a i5 3450 or an FX 8350, so fairly old CPUs, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and for graphics, a GTX 680 or equivalent on the AMD side, although they don't mention one, but that would basically be like a 7970 would be equivalent to a GTX 680, DX11, 50 gigabytes of space, so yeah, that's fairly modest as far as the minimum requirements are concerned, but the recommended requirements definitely take a huge jump up from there. These games have always been very graphically demanding, but yeah, this is a pretty huge leap, and from what I've seen, the visuals on this aren't that insanely better than Project Cars 2, but it is requiring a series system to run it. For the processor, they're saying an i7 8700K, which is pretty darn powerful CPU, still now holds up very well. or an AMD Ryzen 7 2700K along with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the graphics card department is where it really jumps up, with an NVIDIA RTX 2070 being recommended, or an AMD RX 5700. The 2070, that's a pretty powerful GPU, especially when recommended requirements are typically targeting 1080p medium to high settings for 60 frames per second. So even it sounds like, at least based on this, even just for 1080p without running the game maxed out, we don't know the exact settings, but recommended does typically target 1080p, probably somewhere around medium to high settings, definitely not everything ramped up to ultra, and very likely averaging around 60 frames per second. It sounds like you'll need at least an RTX 2070, so pretty discouraging for anyone owning a GPU that is older than that, or a lower tier model like an RTX 2060 or 2060 Super. Sounds like you may be struggling playing this game once it does come out, but it sounds like, based on all of the fan feedback, because of the arcadiness of Project Cars 3 and what it appears like it's going to be, probably not that many people are going to end up playing it at the end of the day anyway. But I definitely want to hear your guys' feedback on this one as well, especially when it comes to removing the simulator aspects of it. If you were a fan of the Project Cars series, I mean, I guess now you can just stick with Assetto Corsa or iRacing. iRacing is probably the most simulator-heavy racing game out there, but it's not really in my wheelhouse. I personally prefer a more arcadey sim game, but I understand, the reason for having these games. For the people that do want to take advantage of it, it kind of sucks that maybe one of their favorite franchises now is just basically turned into dirt, which is pretty shit. And not Dirt Rally, that's very simmy, but I mean like Dirt 2, Dirt 3, those the regular original Dirt franchise of games. It sucks to see it kind of turning into more like that, or like a Forza type of game, and very disappointing, I would probably think, for simulator fans. But I want to see your feedback down in the comments below on that, as well as Spider-Man being stripped away from Xbox One and PC players for the Avengers title coming out next month. That's all I've got for you guys today, though, in PC gaming news. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here and enjoy the rest of my day. I hope you do as well. If you enjoyed this video or learned anything new, leave a thumbs up on it, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you tomorrow in the next one. Ta-ra.